So, as I was saying, I have this one brother my whole life. He's only 2 years older than me. We're best friends. We're both, crazy a bit because our parents abused us like nuts, and right to the very bitter end, right until this morning for me, for my brother, right up until the last days of his life. And when he was gone, it's just me, and my two narcissistic parents. At the time, I didn't know they were narcissists, so I assumed. Well, I said, I guess I'll be treated better at least. I mean, I guess they'll finally realize they have to nurture me for who I am and not try to control me and turn me into what they want, which has been what's gone all along. You won't even believe when you hear it. Their motivational, their ongoing story. It's ludicrous. I think it's based on a psychosis. To tell you the truth, if my parents think they have a shared psychosis. And I'll tell you it in this video because it's really something. It's right out of Forrest Gump. My brother's gone, and I meet a girl shortly after, and I'm not really into bringing her to see my parents because my parents are acting very cold towards me. They never called me once after my brother died to see how I was, and at some point my mother even told me, it's the worst thing for a mother to lose her son. You should be calling your mother every day. And my mother and my brother were like enemies. He hated my mother. As you heard, right up to the last minute, she was the one who caused his heart attack, 100%. And I spoke to my brother on the phone probably 2 or 3 times a day, every day of my life. And we emailed links and funny stuff, clips, all day long. And my mother's telling me I should be calling her. I called her every day for about 3 months, and then I slowly, you know, lowered the volume. I figured they sounded fine compared to me. They never once asked me how I was dealing with it. And the matter of fact, the first dinner I had with them at their house after the mourning period, when it was kind of maybe 3 weeks later, my parents said, "Oh my God, my father was his best friend. We had a cross golden child kind of deal." Anyways, he said, "I don't want to hear your brother's name. It makes me too sad. So don't bring it up." This is the first time I have a chance to sit with my parents to speak about the only member of the four of us missing, and they tell me not to bring it up. And meanwhile, afterwards, their house is full of photos of him. It's ridiculous. I can't even look at a photo of my brother. It kills me so much. I can't. I try not to. It rips me up. I cry. I can't get his. No, it's like it reminds me of how he is, of who he really was. It's torture. And yet they have his photo in every goddamn room, 4 different angles of like he was a god. Nah, they're using it for supply. It's disgusting what they did. They exploited his death. They caused it. My mother caused his death. My father didn't help. And then they exploited it, and they expected me to go along. And when I didn't, I'll tell you what they did. So I have this girlfriend. At the time, I thought she was normal, but she was the reason why I figured everything out. And I'll get to that way in the future. It's too heavy. It's the typical story of when you discover your sweet girlfriend who's just a little mysterious I consider her a psychopath. Sexual, sadistic. She was something else. We'll reach there, one day. Hopefully shortly, because I want to get the story out. Anyways, I distanced myself from my parents. My mother calls me at work. I'm working as a senior programmer. I've been a coder. I do PHP, MySQL, front end, back end, LAMP development, jQuery, JavaScript. I do it all. I've been doing it since I'm 13 years old. My parents have never acknowledged it. All through this internet era, they've been sabotaging my goddamn efforts, up to and including calling my aunt, who was ready to sign a check for $30,000 as a venture capitalist, and she was already, in the last stages of cancer, and she's a multimillionaire. my parents call her and tell her, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of it," or they smear my name. She ends up cutting me a check for $3,000. And then my mother tells me later on when I said, "Oh, I just before I realized it was my mother, I said, I just took the money." I said, "From 30,000 to three." I said, "I took the money and I just had a good time. There was no way I was going to build a business on 3,000, and they couldn't have expected me to. I didn't need 3,000. I needed 30. If I needed $3,000, I would have gone to my bank account and I needed 30,000 cold cash. It was for an application that would have been, I would have been making a lot of money on it. But a lot of my applications, I had a lot of great ideas, and I still do, and I even have for this community some really beautiful things I want to do for us. But yeah, so they've been doing stuff like that to me forever. And so my mother calls me at work. I'm working as senior programmer at the Uniden Corporation, which is, in Canada. And my mother says, your brother is dead, and your brother has passed on, and you're the only one left. So I've been holding on to $75,000. That was for your inheritance. I don't know if that was to share or each of us. I don't know how much money my parents do or don't have. They talk like they're wealthy. My mom does, but every time they've tricked me with that, it seems like they're actually broke and it's all a scam. And my dad is actually a typical psychopath who can't really operate a business because he's disorganized and has impulse control problems, and he probably has all kinds of deviancies that I'm fortunate enough not to know about, and I never do want to know about. But now that I understand about these disorders, I'm getting a better idea of what has been going on. Anyhow, my mother tells me that there's money left, so if I want to go out and start a consultancy or move basically from the job I'm in into something independent where I have control over myself and my future. So I'm getting older. I don't want to be a 55-year-old programmer. We're sitting in summer with kids, Then, there's money there for me. So I say, "Mom, I think you've done this thing to me before where you've had money and then you backed out." So I said, "Do not do this and do not say that. If you don't have the money, or you're going to play tricks, or else you're never going to speak to me again." And I made sure she understood it. And she said, "Neil, I would never do that." So for a year, I literally destroy myself, working all day, 9 till about 5 or 6 in the day job, coming home, resting a bit, and then staying up all night and working on an application, plus a few other. Basically, I'm getting ready to make the break from the day job into an independence. And I'm working really hard because I realize this is my inheritance money, and if I blow it, then I'm going to be someone's employee for the rest of my life. It's like, whatever. So I really, really focus. I mean, I'm a really strong entrepreneur. I can wear a lot of hats, and it's what I've been doing my whole life. And with narcissistic parents, I've had to become a goddamn perfectionist because, it never really was acknowledged that I was even into this stuff or that it was. My dad says the internet's not a good business opportunity to this very day. Anyhow, I'll cut it short. I worked for a year. My mother knows I'm killing myself. I tell her how hard it's been. I say, "But it's going to be great. It's going to be independent." And when I call her, I said, "I just need 5 or 10,000." I said, "I think that might even be all I need. I've worked so hard, and maybe I can generate funds." And she doesn't even answer me. She hands the phone to my father. My father says, "You'll quit your job, and then we'll talk about it." And that was the end for me. That was the end of my relationship with my parents, because they had done that to me so many times. When my brother was alive, I would just hang up the phone and call my brother, and he'd calm me down. He was a comedian. He'd tell me some jokes. We'd laugh. And I figure, okay, what am I going to do, right? I'm not going to give up my brother and his wife. I mean, I like them. So I always just, brushed it under the rug. I went out to party some more. I figured, okay, well, I'm the black sheep. I can have fun. I don't have to worry about being serious. And I took advantage of it as much as I could, I guess. Or as much as, yeah. I live in a great city. That probably helps. And I live in the downtown, and, I like dancing and stuff. So anyways, look, my parents lied to me. And after that, when I found that out, it was about 2 months when I walked into my boss's office, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and he goes, "Neil," he goes, "I can just tell you're not into it." He goes, "And I don't want to start yelling at you because you're not going to listen. You're older than me, and I know you from outside in the scene, and, and I said, "Dude, say no more. I lost it. My mother has just destroyed me too many times, and I have to just get. I have to absorb it. I didn't know what was going on, and I went home, got some money for leaving, and I sat in my apartment for about 10 months, completely traumatized. I mean, I was gone. I couldn't believe that my brother was dead. My parents didn't care. No other relatives seemed to call me. All of a sudden I have no. I'd given them so much. My parents dragged me to family and religious things and every what for? If when my brother died, there was going to be no one there to even call me. Hey, you doing all right? He was your only sibling. You must be